I can't think of many good first-person shooters set in the Old West. In fact, the only ones that come to mind are the Call of Juarez games, which are great. If you want a good Western first-person shooter that tells a good story, play them. Not you! Get the f*** out! The Old West is a setting that's different. It's not my mainstay, but I like some variety in my first-person shooters. So when I saw a game called Black Trail, I figured I'd give it a go. Unfortunately, you're not getting a good first-person shooter in an Old West setting here. In fact, it's pretty darn bad. Even if you don't care about VR, this video is worth sticking around for. People like to see me suffer for some reason, and this game made me suffer a decent amount. I'm Jarek the Gaming Dragon, by the way, if I didn't say that already. Now, I didn't record this because I was literally just launching the game, but the first thing you're greeted with when you launch Black Trail is it setting up your settings, and then it gives you an option to remove Native American enemies. Now, okay, I get why they're doing this, but this is not the way to go about it. You're effectively erasing an important part of history when you make a game like this and remove Native Americans. It's like removing certain factions out of historical wars in a video game. I'm not pissed off about it because it's done with good intentions, I just disagree with the way they did it. Especially when the Native Americans in the game sound like this anyway. In fact, the whole game just doesn't really seem genuine. Like, people don't talk like they would back then. It doesn't feel like a proper Old West game. First impressions didn't get any better because when I got to the main menu, it didn't even have the right controller. I have a Valve Index, and those are not Valve Index controllers. To make things worse, when I was trying to record, it was just really laggy on the preview. It was fine on my headset, but the preview was super laggy. I struggled with this for a while before restarting the game, and that just seemed to fix it. It also made the game realize that I was actually using index controllers, so not really sure what was going on there. Anyway, once that's solved, you step up to the level select, which is actually pretty cool. It's like you're playing a board game where you're moving a piece to the next level, and I like this a lot. It lets you see how long the game is and where the next level will take place. This does make it seem like there's an actual world here, instead of just going from level to level. It also lets you see what character you're going to be playing as, because in this game it has two characters with intersecting stories. These can be some of the best stories in gaming, if they're done well. This wasn't done well. On level 1 you play as the main Native American protagonist, White Eagle. Unfortunately the cutscenes are, well, kind of boring. It's like you're watching a movie in VR. These aren't necessarily bad, it's just there's so much more you can do in VR. Look at this, I have all of this stuff around me. Put me in that world. Don't have me watch a screen in front of me. Anyway, level 1 starts with White Eagle being sick of all the white people taking over their land, and he wants revenge. Even though he basically has control over the warring section of his tribe, he decides to get revenge by attacking a mine alone, because they can't code friendly NPCs. Right away, as soon as the level boots up, the first thing I notice is, oh my god, this music is loud. Why is this music so loud? And holy shit, is it annoying? It's just a repeating 5-second loop over and over, and it starts up at the slightest hint of combat. You remember how in Far Cry 2, if you accidentally shot a gun, music would start? Well, this game does something like that. I would highly recommend going in and turning the music down right away. But now that that's sorted, the graphics are fine. They kind of give a vibe of a low-quality indie project using basic assets. It's passable, but it looks like a VR game from 2016. Controls, on the other hand, are downright awful. One of the first things I noticed is that there's no toggle sprint, which means you're basically going to be killing your analog stick because you have to push in on it the whole time. Now, to be clear, the game does support the index. It's not like I'm playing on a platform that is not supported from this game, but it clearly wasn't tested with the index in mind. Anyway, on this first level, you throw hatchets, and that's it. That's all you can do. In the game's defense, throwing these hatchets is actually pretty fun. That is satisfying. It's also satisfying to lob one across the map and stick it into someone's head like you're playing Modern Warfare 2. Unfortunately, Melee is super picky with the hatchets. If you want to hit someone with the hatchets, it just whiffs half the time. You can't use any other weapons. You can pick up pickaxes, but they don't work. You can't break windows with your weapons. You can't pick up the enemy's weapons. When they die, they just disappear, and so do their guns. The world is super restrictive. VR is supposed to be more immersive, but you can do even less in this game than with a regular flat-screen game. When it comes to VR gaming, there are two distinct eras. before Boneworks and after Boneworks. Games before Boneworks were very experimental, oftentimes felt like tech demos. They were really restrictive and very simple. Boneworks really showed what VR could do. A completely interactable world, the player has their own body they can interact with the world, there's melee combat, two-handed weapons. The game revolutionized VR gaming. Yes, more so than Half-Life Alyx. Keep in mind, this came out before Alyx did, and even Alyx didn't do anywhere near as much as Boneworks did from the gameplay perspective. This game, however, this game feels like a launch title for the Vive back in 2016. It feels outdated on launch. Very similar of how Medal of Honor Above and Beyond was. It certainly did not live up to its name.
Pretend to hurt yourself by smashing your hand on these rusty nails.
What? Okay. You're just a floating pair of hands and a waistband that can make things awkward to grab. It also broke my immersion often, seeing the floating shadow of just my hands and a hat. Anyway, once you hatchet away all these enemies, you find a special chest with evil energy and the item is missing inside. You go back to tell your chief, Grey Elk, and he doesn't like it. Level 2, you're playing as Jack. This is the white guy main protagonist. You're in your house minding your own business when Native Americans attack. Your main weapon is your revolver, and oh my god, this thing is awful. These sights are awful. The gun is always aiming up because this game wasn't made for index controllers. But even if it was, again, the sights are so bad it makes it difficult to see what I'm shooting at. And then there's the reloading, which is terrible. It's not immersive at all. You don't open the loading gate and then pull out bullets from a pouch or anything like that. You just put your left hand up next to the gun, mash the A button, which forces you to remove your hand from the analog stick you are using to move. Not only is this not a satisfying way to reload your gun, but it also will get you killed. It reminds me of how I played through Half-Life Alyx for the first time with teleport. I couldn't teleport and reload at the same time. That was before I got my VR legs back in 2020. You do have the ability to fan the revolver, but you don't even do that. You just hold your left hand above the gun and hold left trigger, then shoot like normal. Why not literally let me fan the revolver? It doesn't matter, you'll rarely ever do this, it's not that useful anyway. Holstering the revolver is also really awkward. It's kind of toggled to grab, but not really. You see, index controllers don't have a button on the back to grab, it's just a big sensor. If you're holding the controller, you are grabbing the controller. Side note, this is really interesting to get used to because when you're throwing things, you're literally letting go of the controller. Anyway, this requires you to let go of the gun for a solid few seconds before it actually holsters itself. This makes it feel really sticky. This also makes it stupid easy to accidentally continuously grab the things that are holstered instead of grabbing a doorknob or something like that. I'll talk about that later. Meanwhile, throwing knives kind of suck. The holster for them is right on your chest, and that makes it kind of easy to accidentally grab something else instead of the knife. And instead of using the grip button to grab your knife, you use the trigger for some reason. I don't know what's backwards from everything else. Anyway, once you repel the attack, it turns out the person the Native Americans were attacking was the sheriff that stole a golden disc and a wooden mask. Native Americans attacked in retort to stealing the artifacts. The sheriff left the golden disc in town in a scramble, and you need to go get it. Level 3 is just attacking the town and getting that golden disc back. And this level shows how terrible the gameplay is in this game. Oh my god, this game is so repetitive, so linear, and so predictable. It feels like all the Call of Duty knockoff asset flips you see on Steam. I thought that by going into this town and seeing enemies in front of me that weren't alerted, I'd be able to go in there and decide which way to go and who to take out first. But no, the moment I stepped in, they all immediately attacked. These enemies do one of two things. They stand there and fire bows at you, and then duck behind cover, and then jump out and fire bows at you, and do that over and over. Or they just run straight at you, and that's it. That's all the enemy variety you're getting. It's just really obvious when you're about to get ambushed by 20 million enemies. You walk forward a few feet, clown closets open, enemies pour out at you, you kill all of them, rinse and repeat. Now on this level you do get a golden disc, which gives you the ability to slow down time, which should mix up gameplay, but it's kind of ass. In order to slow down time, you have to grab something off of your hip and hold it, and then press the trigger. So during slow-mo, I lose control of one hand. But more importantly, the slow motion slows you down too. Your movement is also slow. Everything you do is slow, so what is the point? The slow-mo also lets you see how slow the bullets travel in this game. This is slower than Battlefield 3, even when you're not in slow motion. Makes the gunplay super unsatisfying. It at least makes it easy to dodge enemy attacks, but you're rarely ever at risk because of that either. Anyway, once you've killed all the Native Americans in this town and collect this golden disc, you get onto a train, mow down a bunch more Native Americans with a Gatling gun in a cutscene, and that's it. Level 4. White Eagle gets mad and wants to kill everyone, so he catches up to the train. Instead of being stuck with hatchets this level, you're stuck with throwing spears. And they're so bad. Remember how I said this game was not made for index controllers? Well, this is a perfect example. You reach over your shoulder to grab a spear. You have infinite spears. You can't rearrange the spears in your hands, so you can't use them like a regular spear and jab at things. No, you can only reach over your shoulder and throw them. That's it. You can stab them in a weird, like, knife stabbing way, but I just want to stab them. Just let me use it like a spear, come on. But even more importantly, since this game was not tested well with index controllers, you have to twist your arm in a weird way to throw the spears accurately. I say accurately loosely, because that's also difficult. This genuinely made my shoulder, elbow, and wrist feel like they were about to break. I played 4 years of university baseball as a pitcher, and doing this shit for 10 minutes was already killing my arm. I really can't stress how uncomfortable it is to throw these spears. It thankfully is satisfying when you do actually hit someone with them. Kind of, it could be better, but it could be a lot worse. But everything else is just so bad about these weapons. And you can't use any other weapons. Again, all other weapons just disappear when enemies die, so you can't use their guns or anything like that. Oh, and there's no shotgun in this game. You know, just in case you want to be more disappointed. Anyway, this level doesn't really mix anything up. You just stab a bunch of white people on a train until you get to the front of the train. This is where level 5 starts. As you may remember, the white protagonist, Jack, was on that train by the Gatling gun. So when White Eagle catches up, Jack just knocks him out. This starts a long defense mission with an awkward Gatling gun. And again, these projectiles are slow, and you'd think a Gatling gun would be super easy to use, but holy hell, aiming this thing felt impossible. Where are my bullets going? Occasionally, enemies get too close, and you gotta shoot them with a revolver, whatever, not a big deal. But what is a big deal is you can just fail. Nothing indicates you're going to fail, they just take over the train. And that's it. You don't even die. After a while, the level finally ends. And that's it. That's the whole level. It's just a turret defense section. The level sucks. In the cutscene, you drop White Eagle off at the county jail, then leave to go grab the mask and bring it to the sheriff's mansion. Jack takes off, and that's the whole interaction between the two protagonists you're playing as. They cross paths, they don't even speak to each other, that's it. Level 6. White Eagle wakes up in the jail cell, sees a gold disc on Jack, then picks the lock. This whole level is just escaping the fort. In this level, you get a bow, which is fine, except it constantly vibrates non-stop. I'm not kidding when I say when you grab an arrow and knock it on the bow, as soon as you start pulling the string back, it starts vibrating, and it continues vibrating the whole time until you let go. I swear I was gonna kill my controller's batteries. But the actual bow works as you would expect, 2 shots to the body, 1 shot to the head, that'll kill most enemies pretty easily. But there is one curious thing, the enemy's arrows shoot straight. Yours have a ridiculous arc to them. Anyway, like I said, this whole level is just escaping the fort. Once you do that, you warn the chief about the golden disc that's been stolen. And we move to level 7. In level 7, Jack goes to the mine from level 1, where White Eagle started the game, to retrieve the mask. In this level, you get the worst lever action I've ever used in any game, VR or not. It is so awkward. For starters, for some odd reason, you holster the weapon in your offhand side. So for me, it's on my left side. Whatever hand you grab the lever action with first is your offhand, holding the front of the gun, not your main hand. This makes it really awkward to aim. This is going to be difficult to explain for people that haven't played VR, but in VR, you generally want to grab your gun with your dominant hand first, and then grab it with your offhand to align it properly so you can properly aim. You can't do that in this game, and it makes aiming incredibly awkward. Let alone the fact that the controllers are misaligned because Valve Index stuff. To make things worse, since the gun is on my left-hand side, anytime I wanted to grab my knife, I would grab the gun accidentally instead, with my right hand, which is now on the front of the gun, so I can't even shoot with it. Weirder than this, reloading is just really awkward. It does the same thing the revolver does, where you just mash a button to reload, however, it continuously grabs the gun when I'm not even gripping the controller. Why does this keep forcing me to grab the gun? It is impossible to stop it from doing this. It's also just really picky where you're loading in the bullets. On top of that, it just doesn't cycle sometimes, even though you're actually doing the motion. It's just awful to use and really frustrating. Dynamite, on the other hand, works just fine. You grab it with one hand, then light it with the other and throw it just like you'd throw a grenade or something. It works as you would expect. To give another example as to how non-interactive the world in this game is, you can't even interact with the horses. If you pet them, they don't react to them. If you pat them, they don't try to kick you. Nothing happens. The world is just static, which defeats the point of a VR game. When you're in that world and you're supposed to be able to react to everything, interact with every little object, and you can't do that here. This level was pointless anyway because you finally get to the mine where it has the chest with the mask in it, but the mask is already gone. On level 8, we back bounce over to White Eagle. Chief Grey Elk sends you on a mission to retrieve the gold disc. You get a magical mask that lets you see the souls of enemies, but if you use it for too long, apparently the mask takes control. Oh sick, that means there could be like an actual mechanic, something different than the basic 2016 VR stuff. Like, what happens if the mask stays on your face for too long? Do I get superpowers I can't control for a certain amount of time? Does it harm me in a certain way? What does it do?
Grey Elk warned me not to wear it for too long. Mask hurts. Ugh.
It just fucking kills you. It just pauses the game and says, you died, mask killed you. That's all it does. It's just there to balance in the fact that you can now see enemies through walls by holding the mask up to your face. Oh, and cool, the menu is broken now. I can't select anything. Gotta restart the game to get that working. Alright, I'm back in the game. Oh, for fuck's sake. Force stealth? The worst kind of force stealth? If an enemy spots you at all, you just lose. Even if he dies a split second later, and no one else would know, it's an instant fail. If you kill an enemy next to another enemy, it's an instant fail. Oh, cool. Real cool. The menu broke again. I can't do anything. I have to restart the game again. Fuck this. I don't want to be in the Old West anymore. I'm going to the future. Oh, what an improvement. Oh, look at this. This is way better than the Old West, right? I think we can all agree that game is really bad. I can just call it quits here. No, you guys came here to see me suffer, and I'm gonna suffer, damn it. You thankfully have a few saving graces with this level. For one, there's checkpoints. Thankfully, you don't have to do the whole level over again when you get spotted. The second saving grace is that you get a blowgun, which is pretty OP. It's 100% accurate, you can aim just by looking at the enemies, and this mostly works. This makes taking out enemies trivial, if you wouldn't instantly fail. It's effectively a trial and error puzzle that is really annoying and wastes a lot of your time. But finally I made it out of this stupid hedge maze. We can move on from this level.
I'll be spotted if I don't move.
There's a part 2. There's a part 2! This one's even worse than the hedge maze. My first experience with this was loading in, not being able to move for some reason, him saying, oh no, we're gonna get spotted, we better move, and then instantly failing. Cool, fun video game. I'm not kidding when I say this is just a trial and error force stealth instant fail puzzle. You have to figure out how to kill all of the enemies so you can walk up the stairs. All of them are looking that direction, so they need to be killed. But here's where I noticed something that makes no sense. Enemies won't notice dead bodies if they were killed away from them. So if you have a roaming NPC that walks over a dead body that you killed 30 seconds ago, he won't notice it. He'll only notice it if he was standing within that range. This is unintuitive and makes no sense. God forbid we can't pick up the enemies and move them somewhere else. In a situation where I'm literally moving my arms and you can grab things? No, let's not add in logical mechanics to this. Once you finally do get up these stairs, it's more of the same, just even more annoying. Oftentimes resulting in being confused at who the hell even saw me.
So many rooms, which one is it? My eyes burning.
Where? Remember when I said holstering the revolver is kind of a pain? Well, that's true with literally anything you have on you. Want to open that door and not be seen because it's a stealth level? Too fucking bad. No, let go of the mask. Let go of the mask. Oh my, get rid of the mask. Oh my, doing anything in this game is so And to prove this is just a puzzle where you have to kill enemies in a specific order by doing a specific thing, one of the achievements is called Mercy. The way you get this achievement is by leaving one enemy or more alive. One. Mercy is murdering everyone else, but not killing that one guy. And while we're here talking about achievements, you get an achievement every time you beat a level. And you can see the percentage of the amount of players that have beaten these achievements. And my god, people realized how bad this game is quickly. 70% of players beat Chapter 1. 52% beat Chapter 2. It's down to 25% by Chapter 3. This forced stealth level, Chapter 8, down to 4.4%. I really want to know the refund numbers of this game because people realized how shit it is very fast. But finally you get to the safe, you get the golden disc back, and this garbage is over. You can move on. Level 9. You're still playing as White Eagle. You give the relics to Gray Elk. Gray Elk puts on the mask and goes crazy. White Elk gets thrown away by literal superpowers and gets knocked out again. Oh hey, we're playing as Gray Elk. And I have superpowers? Holy hell, this is awesome! Where was this the rest of the game? Your left hand casts literal lightning from the skies, and your right hand throws explosive fireballs that can light anything on fire. And you have 300 health! This is a bit of a power fantasy, and you can still see the budget nature coming through. I mean, these ragdolls just look like basic Unity ragdolls, but I don't care. This is actually fun, but it's unfortunately short-lived. After massacring both Native Americans and white settlers, Gray Elk performs the ritual. Level 10. We're finally on the last level. Jack goes to the mansion, finds all of the death, and then follows the footsteps. Even though he has no reason to, and even acknowledges this in the cutscene.
Despite my bounty hunter instinct to avoid serious conflict, I found myself following those muddy footsteps.
Acknowledging your plot hole doesn't make it less of a plot hole. You catch up to Gray Elk and it's final boss battle time. The boss is... it's okay. The setup is actually pretty smart. You know what powers the boss has because you were just playing as the final boss on the previous level. Dodging fireballs and lightning is pretty easy, but now there's an added attack to revive the dead. Thankfully, he does this sparingly, because you don't get much ammo and you need to scrounge around for it often. If you run out of ammo when he revives enemies, you're pretty screwed. The one complaint I really do have about this boss, aside from it not being that exciting, is just that it has way too much health. I don't know if there's a checkpoint, and I didn't want to find out. Given the kind of game this is, I would imagine there's no checkpoint, so if you died, you're gonna have to do it all over again. White Eagle awakes to see Jack take down Gray Elk. They try to destroy the relics, but could not, so they decide to permanently hide them by putting them back in the same mine where they were found. They even acknowledge someone will find them. How is that a solution? Anyway, Jack becomes the new sheriff of town, while White Eagle gets casted out from his tribe, getting blamed for the whole ordeal. Then white men and Native Americans live happily ever after. Yeah, the story isn't particularly good. It's not written very well, it doesn't have interesting cutscenes, it just didn't grab me. But after you beat the game, you unlock new bounty missions. These are just the same missions but with a scoring system, unlockable weapons, special upgrades like a shield, and you can play as any character here. Even Gray Elk, the final boss. Where was the stuff in the default campaign? Seriously, where? This would have made the gameplay so much better. It would have reminded me of, say, Call of Juarez Gunslinger, where you could have upgrades, something to work towards to, actual interesting gameplay, but no. You get this generic game that looks like it came out of 2016. To make all of this even worse, I beat this game in under 3 hours. You want to take a guess how much this game costs? You know, this indie game that seems outdated on launch? $35. Yeah, $35 for an under 3 hour game that's undercooked and just not good. Needless to say, don't waste your money on this. I spent my money on this so you don't have to. This game is not good at all. You know those people that are adamant that VR is just a gimmick? That there's only one good game on it and that's Half-Life Alyx because their whole existence revolves around only AAA games? This is a game they will point at and be like, see, I told you it's just a gimmick. That's what it feels like. It's bad. It's really bad. And I'm glad I'm never going to have to play it again. But you guys like watching bad games, apparently, so if you want to watch more of them, there's plenty on screen over here, and if you like my content, consider subscribing. Huge thanks to my YouTube members. They get to see my videos at minimum a week early. If you want to follow me over on Twitter, I do have a Twitter. It's not X, it's Jarek_Dragon. I tweet out nonsense pretty often. I also stream often, twitch.tv/Jarek4GamingDragon. If you want to talk and hang out over there, then consider following over on Twitch. Thanks for watching. Dragon will see you next time.